There we go. Right there. Right there. Slap it up, flip it, rub it down. Oh no. Ba, ba.
Let's start right out. Hey, what happened?
Welcome. Hi, everyone. My name is Dean. That is Lachlan Cross. That is Ryan Lindley. That is James DeFiore. And this is a hot mess. Welcome. Da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. What a day, boys. Monday. So much going on, too. Rogers Media is a fucking disaster. I don't know why I'm smiling right now. We'll talk about that coming up in a few minutes. Not often do you get a chance to no holds barred tell the truth about a media company in this country because it's so insular, it's so capped, it's so controlled. But there's some big doings at Rogers Media. It's literally like fucking Game of Thrones and Succession meets like some kind of weird Canadian story. So we'll get to that. Oh, we got some Alec Baldwin details to get to. As you know, he was running around shooting people out of his movie by accident. It's a terrible story, too. But we'll get to that. Some of the details are fucking crushing, actually, and weird. We'll also talk a little bit about Doug Ford's wife's birthday week. That's a lot of fun. We're going to have a blast that week. I mean, we'll all get sick, but we'll all have fun. Well, not all of us will have fun, but at least 5 women will. So that's cool for Doug. And we've got some COVID schadenfreude to get to today. That is, all of my friends are here today. Well, I've got a couple more, but not many. And nice to see everybody. How was your weekend, Locke? Was it as fun as it looked on Twitter? No? Oh, I don't think I've unbuttoned
this
you.
weekend.
There we go. Sorry, go ahead.
I went to a show last night. Have you guys heard of The Who?
Mm-hmm.
HU, the Mongolian band?
That's Friesen's band.
Yeah, Brandon. That's right. Yeah. We've had Brandon on. We should have Brandon back on. Anyway, he is he's got something going on there, man. That was so fucking cool last night. It was amazing.
Mongolian rock and roll is what it is. It's like this band out of Inner Mongolia, and they're setting the world on fire.
Yeah. You guys know about Rammstein, right?
Rammstein, yeah.
Rammstein. They get compared to that a bit.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I've listened to some of it. Yeah. Did you go to Mongolian barbecue before you went to a Mongolian rock concert?
That would have been a good idea, but no, I did not.
Idea. Well, you should have. You really fucking missed the boat.
Whenever we're because I work at like a stupid hour in the morning and my drive-in's like a 35-minute drive-in. Last night I had to, I didn't have to, but I chose to sleep at the radio station because the show, the Midway, is the venue and it's literally 2 blocks away from the radio station. So I weirdly slept in the control room last night, took a foamy and a couple of pillows and crashed right underneath the board. So I woke up at like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Radio. I sleep exactly the same way, but it's at home.
Yeah, just to get an extra hour of sleep, which is very important to me. I slept at the radio station last night. Jimmy was supposed to come with me too, but he hurt his back whacking off in the shower. So,
did he? Yeah. It happens when you're a really aggressive masturbator.
It's nice to know he does it in the shower, though. You know?
Yeah.
But that sleeping at the radio station thing is usually reserved for like guys who are too wasted to go to like morning guys.
Yeah.
I was also wasted.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just asking. Yeah. Did you set the bed up before? Was it like one of those pre-wasted things, or did you go, just leave my car here, walk over, and I'll walk back, grab my stuff after the car?
Dean, I'm a planner. I took bedding and I took the foamy up. I threw it down.
Yeah.
And got ready before I went, got shit faced, and then I came back to the radio station and crashed.
Attaboy.
That's
a fucking like that's
drunk.
a young radio dude move. Like old radio dudes can't do that except if your name is Lachlan Cross. He's just got this extra fucking gear. But like towards the end of my time in radio, I was like, I could never drink during the week, no matter how much I love to drink. Like never. It was just one of those things where I was like, fuck, can I really, really get drunk and go to work again? No, I can't. And I fucking hated it. But good for you. I remember there was one time I came back from Red Hot Chili Peppers concert that was like in the country. They did like one of those cottage things. And it was fucking fascinating because I was so wasted on the way back. I'm like, there's no way I could even perform the next day. And the next morning I had like what could quite possibly be the best show I've ever had in my life. Sometimes those wasted shows are the best.
No comment. We have them all the time. We actually have started getting smart though. We've stopped going in on the Monday after Super Bowl. As good as those shows are, sometimes they're very difficult. And
you know those shows where you're like the control room's hot, the headache starts to appear around 7:00 in the morning. You got to perform. You also might have to shit because you got the booze poos. And then, you know, you're when you pee, it feels like you're peeing out sawdust. And you're like, why did I do this to myself? Why? And then you go and do it again. Those are the best days. But the older you get, the more you can't recover from that again, unless you have tiger blood like Lachlan Cross.
I had Irish Jamesons last night too.
Oh, wow. Did you fight somebody?
4 or 5. No, I'm not a fighter. I don't get mean on booze. I never have. I just get louder, which gets me beat up every once in a while. But I'm not the one that's encouraging the fighting. I'm just bringing it on myself. Yeah. The Irish whiskey though is like I was 4 or 5 shots into that, and before I pulled the pin and went
down.
Yeah.
Well, that's the problem is that you get like 12 beers and you have 4 or 5 of those. And the next thing you know, you're sleeping on the control room. But you're here and I'm like a fucking gamer. You're a star, by the way. Like this is what real men do in radio is they show up. I used to say that all the time. Get as drunk as you want, but you better fucking be at work at 5:00 in the morning ready to go. Like I don't care what you do in your life. Yeah.
Maybe he's listening.
Or Jay. Yeah. Guys, just fucking show up. That's all you got to do.
Then they show up with allergies.
The
fine,
thing
man.
is,
I'll just go in there right now.
Just to straighten up.
The thing is, to be fair to everybody else in the world with real jobs, radio is not a real job. This is it's a sad excuse for a job. And when you're 51 and you're still doing radio and you over drink on a Sunday night to go see a band that throat sings, you better be at work the next morning.
That's
all I gotta say.
It's an Ed Rogers move, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got Eddie to talk about later on today too. But I want to get to the COVID. Let's get the fucking COVID Schadenfreude out of the way because I was shocked over the past couple of days. We had the easing of restrictions here in Ontario today. We'll get to that in a couple of minutes, which was great news. But like, we're still dealing with all the bullshit. We're still dealing with the ramifications of a few rogue provinces deciding that science wasn't real. I'm looking at you, Alberta and Saskatchewan. And because of that, we received here in Ontario 6.
I'm not Alberta.
Count them 6. You are here. We received 6.
I live in Alberta.
Deathly ill patients from the province of Saskatchewan into Ontario so that they could get critical care and they could open up some beds for some very sick human beings in the province of Saskatchewan. One of those sick, critically ill, fatal transfers was a fella by the name of Mark Friesen. Now, I did a little Google search of Mark Friesen after I read this story this morning. I won't call him a stupid man, but this guy calls himself the Grizzly Patriot. For the past year, he's fought masks, year and a half, vaccines, public health. He's now got COVID. He's in ICU and he might live or die. This guy says he doesn't care. I think that's strong. This guy also says, I told you so. But that is Mark Friesen. Now, Mark Friesen not only has stood up against vaccines and stood against masking, he has also tried to tell people that these vaccines are killing children at an alarming rate, which is a lie. He's also
We're
been
not even vaccinating kids.
no,
What
I
the
know
fuck are you
that, but
talking
he's
about?
saying that they're killing people. Like he told a story about a little girl's heart that exploded on his Twitter feed, which was also a lie. So anyway, this guy for the past 3 weeks has been so sick, he hasn't been able to leave the hospital to the point where dude's been intubated. This is from a website that I perused this morning, which kind of deals with these people as they get sick. Mark Friesen, 48 of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, PPC candidate, Sask riding, intubated with COVID. According to social media reports, Mark Grizzly Patriot Friesen is intubated at Royal University Hospital in Saskatchewan. That was like 2 days ago. Today, he is at Mount Sinai Hospital in beautiful Toronto, Ontario.
Yeah,
And
they're shipping patients out of Toronto.
Yeah,
Or
shipping
out of
patients
Saskatchewan.
out of Saskatchewan to Ontario because Saskatchewan is largely unvaccinated. I think they're below 70%. But I wrote a post about this guy, and the fucking trolls were awesome. Like, if you really want to piss people off, take a story about a denier that might die who's in the hospital, like this guy, and put it out there and go, hey, just want everybody to know vaccines work. This guy chose not to get it. But, the fascinating part is every single one of these trolls, like this young lady here. So I put the story out, COVID denier, candidate Mark Friesen, flown from Saskatchewan to Toronto, critically ill patient. He's on death's door with COVID, asking, ye shall receive. This is what he wanted. So this person says he's being weaned off the vent. Nice try, you twisted, sick fuck. I got a ton of these from other people. Like this guy who called me a sadist, also called me a Satan worshiper, which is kind of true. Yes, fuel for the shock bot. Then another, he's right. This is literally what he said, because these guys came after me. I said, well, is he in ICU 2,000 miles from home because he's right? And a reply to that, this guy's just one of the all-time fucking great trolls on Twitter. He is an awful human being. His name's Daniel Wirt. He says, he's right to make the choice about risk-benefit in consultation with a physician, which is what he did, right? That's what Mark Friesen did. Mark Friesen was told he can make his choice. So he made his choice. He decided not to get fucking vaccinated, to the point where everything that he has posted on social media has been in that vein, like every single thing. This is a tweet he put out about a month ago. He says, do I need your movies? Nope. I sure don't. Do I need your concerts? Nope, sure don't. Don't need your sports. Don't need your restaurants. Don't need your business. I don't need any of that. I got my wife and kids, my dogs, my family, a group of 1 million strong Canadians who have each other. All I need is my freedom. He says, you won't take that away from me. And whoever asks me, you can take your vaccine and your vaccine pass and shove them both as far up your ass as you can. I would suggest, and I'd love to open it up to the floor, that Mark Friesen made a choice to not get vaccinated. He had the same information we all have. His choice led to his current situation. So Mark won. Right?
At the end of the day.
Mark won. In the end,
Yep.
Mark was allowed to not get vaccinated. Mark weighed the benefit of the vaccines and not getting vaccinated. He decided he wasn't getting vaccinated, and also decided none of this was real. And also that this was a government control operation, had nothing to do with being sick. Mark has been on a ventilator for 3 weeks. He might not live. He's for sure going to have long COVID. All of them do that are in it for this long. I suggest to you and everybody else that is exactly what he asked for.
Yeah.
That is exactly what he got. And therefore, none of us, including him and his family and his friends, should be too unhappy about this, no matter what the end result is.
I think moving forward, if we have any more of these types of stories, before we get into what happened to them, we should just put a picture of them up and then go, all right, do you think he got the vaccine?
This is exactly you're exactly right. It's
I just see all I see is that guy in Alberta with no face mask on in Safeway, just looking like scowling, wandering around the Safeway, looking for one of the 16-year-old kids to come up and tell him to put so that he can make a scene. He looks like, and then he'll happily go back to his black Dodge Ram pickup truck in the parking lot.
And you know, the thing of it is, Lindley, the thing of it is, and I saw you shaking your head, and I appreciate it because it means you agreed with me, which is always nice. The thing of it is that when these guys say this is what I want, and then they get it, and then you point out, oh, hang on, then you point out that they got it. All their friends think you're a sick, twisted fuck.
Is so mad. I don't understand why they're so like. We're literally, I wouldn't say happy, but we're here just validating their feelings of how they thought and the stance that they took.
Right.
That's the route they chose. And they were given the, like you said, he consulted with a physician. I'm sure that guy probably doesn't want his name out there right now, but he consulted with a physician and he received the outcome that we all knew was going to happen. And so he's owning us. So he did it.
Mm-hmm.
Good for him.
He won.
Round of applause.
All of these,
way to go, Mark.
all of these guys that are sort of putting themselves front and center of the anti-vax movement, I mean, with Chris Guy, it's obvious, but like for the rest of them, even it just kind of feels like it's screen test, like it's about them, like they think they're going to be famous or something. I've never seen like a movement, if you want to call it that, of any kind that's had like a half a dozen self-proclaimed ambassadors of said movement. I've never seen this. And it just feels like they're auditioning for a reality show that's only kind of going on in their heads.
Mm.
And none of them are going to have a happy ending. Barbecue Guy got all his shit taken. Fucking Chris Guy doesn't realize how much of a douchebag he is and how everyone thinks selling hoodies out of garbage bags is just the funniest thing ever. This guy, the other guy from Alberta that got just put in jail recently, what's
Kevin
his name?
J. Johnson. Yeah.
These are all people that really want a talk show, I think.
Mm.
Right.
Mhm.
And they're all getting one by one. COVID is just taking them down. No. I, for once, think it's funny. I don't normally think it's funny, but like, I like it when the grifters get taken out. And you know, I'm more offended at grifters. I'm more offended at grifters than I am at anti-vaxxers. To be honest, it offends me personally.
I get that.
Degrees of it, right? That's the difficult part about the conversation. And I keep wondering, like, how much. Whenever I see somebody go, off about the vaccine or take a stance on freedom or whatever it is on social media, or if it's a story I read about somebody, I wonder, I wonder to what degree of belief they have around COVID, and do they think that COVID actually has killed any? Like, there's all this huge range of belief structure around this thing, and I'm that's the first thing I start seeing. Like when I see that guy, I wonder if he thought that he could get that sick.
Great question.
I wonder if he
I don't
thought
know
that
if he did.
if the numbers were all inflamed, or like where did he fall in sort of this belief structure, this crazy world that we live in? Because
it might just be that he didn't think it would hurt him. Like, I'm not afraid of COVID, for example. I'm just not.
But did he believe COVID even existed? Like, some of them are that far deep. Yeah. Like, James,
I think that cognitive dissonance, that disconnect from reality, is so deep with some of them. I think you're right, Locke. I don't think they either, because we can't understand, and that's why you're questioning it, because I do the same thing, and that's why I pour over hours and hours of studies and paperwork to try and figure out what these fucking makes them tick. And there's no answer other than the fact that they've literally gotten so deep into their own bullshit that they literally believe it right up until the last second, that, especially when it's the family members, and we've seen those, and those are the ones that we don't give any, time to, because fuck you guys. Sorry. I don't want to hear your sob story now. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard this guy talk, so I don't know if he believes or doesnn't believe in it, but I think there's
a Twitter feed. It's pretty revealing.
It's fair to say, though, that that some of them, like Chris Guy got vaccinated. Bernier said he knows that it's like that there's a sickness going around. I think he called it a pandemic, but he didn't like say that he was going to get vaccinated because he was healthy. So Lachlan, to your point, there is sort of like this spectrum of belief. I'm a little easier on the ones that are just misinformed, but not leading, that they're just sitting at home trying to find information, but they're not that bright. I don't like want to be too hard on those people, because if you're not bright, you're not fucking bright. You don't know how to research. You don't know how to research.
I brought up the red guy, the guy that lives in Jimmy's building, more than a couple of times, because he's a fascinating case. So he's anti-vax. He's anti, like he's fucking everything, right? Like he's an idiot. And at one point, I remember him saying in the summer that all this is just fake, and it was all just a ruse to try to enslave us. He believes that anything that the media is overblowing it, and it's not actually a pandemic, and lying, and the government's lying. Yeah. Yet he's taking ivermectin. And I said to him, I said, so you're taking ivermectin for something you don't believe is real? Like, it just doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Like, I'm so confused.
Well, that just means that quietly he was convinced that it was. And then because he's still batshit, he went for the batshit approach. See, a lot of these people, like, I think, believe that it exists and believe that the vaccine is a better idea, but they're grifters. And so they want to keep the thing going because it gives them adrenaline to have people say, you're the best, man. You're the king of this anti-vax shit. What up? Or whatever, right? Like, it just seems like they want that kind of attention. So they might be a hypocrite, but they'll try to be quiet about it,
and there's a lot of that too. Like it's fascinating to me because, like, a lot of people thought I was writing the story to dunk on the guy, and I was writing the story to dunk on the movement, but also to say, hey, listen, I'm here to talk about giving you what you want. Mark got what he wanted. He wanted to not get vaccinated, and he said if there is something out there, which if you go through his Twitter feed, he has said if it's out there, it's bullshit. It's nothing more than the flu. He said that dozens of times.
Yeah.
So the great part about this is not only has he been diagnosed with COVID, not only has he been in an intubated coma for the past almost month. So you can't really ask the guy how he's feeling and whether or not this was worth it. But the incredible part to me is that he was so readily and willing and able, and all of the people supporting this guy who's still in the hospital 2,000 miles away now because he's so bad, like he's on death's door. They're all saying, A, it's not COVID, it's just pneumonia.
Oh, wow.
And B, they're championing the very fucking healthcare system that they're questioning for saving his life if he makes it.
Yeah, there's so much hypocrisy.
Like, it is fucking outrageously funny. And the fact that, like, people get mad about this stuff blows my mind, because this isn't something to be angry about. The irony itself is all the entertainment here. All the entertainment. Is it entertaining to watch someone die? No. Is it entertaining as fuck to watch someone who said, I would rather die than get the vaccine, get sick, and make it, and then live with those things? Not really. But could it be educational? Totally.
Fuck up. I think the circumstances are funny, and I think you're right. I just don't think. I think why they get mad at you, and you've got such a platform to receive them, and for two, they're running out of things. They're running out of things to grab onto as to hold up their end, right? So when you're cornered,
that's a good point.
And I'm going to say something that's going to sound really condescending, but I don't know another way to put it without taking up 20 minutes.
Just so you know, I'm good with the condescending. So just let's plain talk here.
No more Lachlan preambles, please,
Locke loves it. James loves it. I love it. Condescend away.
When you're stupid and you're backed into a corner and you have no argument, you become it becomes vitriol. It becomes vile. It just gets disgusting. And because that's the only defense mechanism you have. It's literally you flopping on the dock. You're dying.
Yeah.
Your argument.
I do that all the time. When I'm wrong, I just yell louder.
That was like the sponge boob square cunt that you had on the other day. That was all.
I don't know if that was her full name.
I don't. Yeah, well, her
Close
name
enough.
is evolving as videos go on.
I had a moment of clarity with this whole thing, and then you guys may want to move on, but we've got a guy in our friends group that's an anti-vaxxer and anti-masker, and we've been calling him out on the air on a fairly regular basis. His name's we refer to him as Weird Jason, and on Friday when we called him out because we told him that he wasn't going to be able to go to the Whistle Stop restaurant anymore, which was an anti-vax restaurant because they shut it down.
Yeah.
So, sorry, you lost your Sunday breakfast spot. His response back to us was interesting and kind of, again, didn't completely clear up why we are where we're at and why people think the way they think. But he did say in a text back to the station that in his life, he has always been the guy that takes the alternative road, right? And I think he kind of takes pride in that a little bit, in taking that sort of more difficult path. So a lot of these people are, and we've talked about this numerous times, a lot of these people, like, this is just an extension. This was one more thing for them to latch onto, right? The this COVID thing and this conspiracy, they were already fully on board.
Red meat.
A whole bunch of other conspiracies.
They were foaming out the mouth about everything before this, and this was like the catalyst of all catalysts for an anti-everything person.
This is one more thing to jump onto.
Yeah.
And again, no one has yet been able to clarify the religious side of this, like why
I've done it like 100
religious...
times. Are you not paying attention to the religious stuff I drop here? I drop real religious knowledge on you.
No, I know you do, but it still doesn't make sense that people who are supposed to believe in, and in equality for all mankind.
Oh, no, that's where you go wrong. They don't.
Yeah,
the
it just
Christians
doesn't seem
don't.
to fit the
for
overall
all
message
people who
of religion.
believe in Jesus the way they believe in Jesus. But the same thing, it's irrational people. I know it's irrational people. Irrational people believe in talking snakes, and they believe that pandemics are conspiracies and that vaccines don't work. It just kind of goes in line with that. Some of the sects, SECTS, are a little bit hardcore. Like, I think, isn't it Jehovah's Witnesses? They don't get their kids like anything. They don't go to the doctor.
No blood transfusions. Yeah, if you're
Is that a JW thing? I didn't know that was a JW.
Love it. They called it a JW thing. They came to my house recently, and I told them I was a total JW, and they left. It was awesome. They're like,
maybe they thought you said SJW. They were like,
no. They're like, hey, we're with the Watchtower, and I'm like, this, me too. And they're like, really? I go, yeah, come on over, come on in. They're like, no, thank you. And I'm like, come on in. I'm having a JW potluck upstairs. Let's go. Anyway, it's the religion thing, right? And so Alberta, Saskatchewan, Western Canada, full of them. And this is this guy's problem. It's the same thing with that Leslyn Lewis tweet. You remember Dr. Leslyn Lewis on the weekend? She's like, vaccines are bad for kids. I'm not a lunatic. She's a fucking lunatic. Misrepresented doctors in the academic world all over. And then everybody was like, everybody was like, Dean, you're making fun of her because she's black. I'm like, I could care less what color she is. Like it's just, this is about Jesus. For them, it's about Jesus. For them, it's like, it literally is.
Pre-COVID.
Oh yeah, dude. It was like, and again, you go back to the religion thing. Every single one of these Jesus freaked, born again Christian nutbag politicians takes an oath to their Lord and Savior that usurps their oath to the people which they serve. So it's no fucking surprise assholes like Stockwell Day and numbskulls like Leslyn Lewis and all these born again freaks like this guy, who is literally a born again Christian, who cannot stand the idea of getting the mark of the beast, and his Bible, which is 2,000 years old and written by a whole bunch of losers and put together to control Protestants and Catholics at the same time, which he doesn't understand that. He's like, but my Bible says if I get something like that, it's the mark of the beast and I won't go to heaven. So his entire eternal life banks on it. That's why these people don't do it. Which is fucking hilarious to me.
I thought the Stockwell Day account, like when I first saw the Stockwell Day account, I thought it was parody like a year and a half ago. Like he's kind of bad. Who would have thought that the guy that drove the jet ski up to the press conference would have a tough time reading a situation?
Weird.
Like, wow.
Yeah. Speaking of a hard time reading a situation, on Friday in Ontario, they announced that restrictions would be lifted, like capacity restrictions, because we're doing so well. We're actually doing very well. I think 85% of Ontarians are vaccinated, 2 shots, fully vaccinated. I think 87, 88 is 1 shot. Number continues to climb slowly, which is great news. It's why we're in great shape. So the restrictions are coming on. But it was kind of funny because when they announced the restrictions, we were sitting there waiting, and all of a sudden the announcement came out, and Imgrind, who we had on last week, puts out a tweet, and he's like, what the fuck is going on here? And here's the situation. So this is the apparent schedule for reopening. Capacity is going to be lifted as of January 17th on restaurants, bars, sports, recreational, fitness facilities, water parks, casino, bingos, halls. But this isn't just capacity. This date for January the 17th is a date when he's planning on lifting, Doug Ford, planning on lifting all the vaccine mandates in total. So the vaccine mandate that says you can't go into a restaurant unless you're vaccinated, you can't go here unless you're double vaccinated, you can't go there, that's going to be lifted. Now, Imgrind, he and I were talking about it, and he's like, there's no metric. And I'm like, well, what metric are you looking for? He's like, a scientific metric. I go, which one did they give? And he's like, January 17th. And I said, what do you mean? And he's like, no, that's what he said. It's just, we're planning on opening up January 17th. So as the internet does, it did a little work. And we found out that week is his wife's birthday week.
Okay.
She's Aquarius.
Listen, we can't get, I know we're mad about this part, but the one thing we should be really mad about here is if we would have known for the last almost 2 fucking years that all we had to do was tell COVID what day it was going to end.
We've been doing that in certain ways all throughout.
We did this a year ago.
We've been doing that. So COVID knows that they listen, I'm just saying, okay, I don't care about this, so I'm just saying COVID was cool with the Black Lives Matter protests. They weren't so cool with the other protests with the yellow vests or whatever. But so we've been doing this the whole time. It's just that this is the latest incarnation, right? That somebody else is doing this. Also, this is really, Doug Ford knows that the margin of error between him winning and losing the next election is roughly the size of the part of his base that are anti-vaccine. Yeah. So in order to shore up all these conservatives to unite, he has to do the 2-step, and the 2-step to him is opening shit up so he can bring his wife to Montana's. So,
and can you
I
first
love that the Montana's thing keeps coming up.
Can we for a second talk about that? Is that like I'm all for reopening. Like if we're in a place on January 17th where that date works out, fuck, reopen. I would love it. There's nothing I would love more than to get back to some semblance of normal. But do we not, in a pandemic that we've been locked under for 2 years, do we not want to let science make that decision at some point? Or are we just arbitrarily picking dates? Because the other part of this that I find interesting is all 4 of Dougie's beautiful girls, all 4 girls, all of them, the names start with a K, which is unbelievable. All of those girls are unvaccinated as well, and they're still pumping out misinformation on that. So my understanding is, because I talked to a mutual friend of ours, and he said that every year on his wife's birthday, Doug takes his wife and all the girls and their boyfriends or husbands out for dinner. And all of those ones being unvaccinated, because Mrs. Ford is unvaccinated, daughters are unvaccinated. There's no real metric to point to.
Do we know that
January,
for sure?
100%. Yes, I do.
Wife too, eh?
100%.
No,
you'd think though that to give the Fords a break, they hung out with their brother Rob Ford for so long that their immune systems must be off the fucking charts, man. Like seriously,
yeah.
They probably shook hands with that Lisi guy, right?
Xander
and so
Lisi,
that was like, you're a fucking superhero if you.
There is something to be said about that, though.
Seriously,
I think if you live in and have been surrounded with a certain amount of disgust or dirtiness in your life, and you've been exposed to these viruses, and are like Jimmy, I think they should test that kid's blood. Like I think it could cure every his apartment.
But hold on. But granted, though, they used to make Rob Ford eat out of a dog bowl on the ground. So like maybe they just kept him far enough away where I could easily picture it. Come on.
It's
You want your crack, don't
funny.
you?
There are there's sub information because obviously this is the big story, the date, but there is sub information that says this is all, based on, how we are doing. They have said it that, this is all based on if we're doing as well as we're doing, the projections are, but I just don't understand where they're getting the projection from. Like today we had 326 cases, but only 18,000 people were tested. So yeah, the testing goes down, so do the case numbers. I get it. And we're going into the colder months. So putting a date on it, I think what James is saying is right. It's giving his base a bit of a tickle, like he's tickling the taint a bit. But at the same time, when it all backfires and Christmas fucks everything up, and everybody's having their big holiday parties and everything else, and the cases skyrocket again and they can't do what they want to do, I think that's going to look really bad. And that's really going to shoot them in the foot when they, I know we said we were going to open up, but now it's January 20th and we're locked down again. So
yeah, the arbitrary date is a tough one. We've been bitten in the ass here in Alberta with that more than a couple of times. But I like I said, I wish I had an answer for a lot of these mistakes. Like, what should they have done? Like, I found it fascinating that we were on the air and our public officials were saying, giving restrictions for Thanksgiving. So you're giving restrictions for the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. And you're telling the unvaccinated they can't have anybody over at their house.
Right.
Isn't that the group that doesn't believe in this? They're going to listen to some
Nobody
regulation. No, they're not going to listen to it. It seems so pointless to step up to a podium and go, okay, if you're vaccinated, you can have another family over, yet you can go to the football game with 20,000 people. Like, there's just so much fucking, and then, but if you're not vaccinated, which you're right, you can't have anybody over at your house this weekend. Don't break that rule. What the fuck? It's just a joke.
I just think they gave him an end date too. I don't like that. I don't like that they've given anti-vaxxers an expiration date on. Well, you can go into the bar after this day. It's gonna be fine, no problem, guys.
The annoying part of that was for me. The annoying part of that one was for me was as soon as he announced it was January 17th, he was going to lift the vaccine mandates. I got pounded by people going, "Fuck you! I'm never getting vaccinated now because they don't have to." And I'm like, "Fuck."
Yeah. He did. That's what he did. He gave them an out date. He gave them an out, and now even the people that were on the fence, now they're just gonna be like, "Well, I'll just fucking hold out and I'll wait."
Yeah.
Is any other province doing that? Is any other province sort of dangled a carrot?
There's
no saying
dates. No.
No, and then you've got two other provinces that haven't done jack shit.
Yeah.
Like Saskatchewan's like, yeah, we're still not cool with mandates. And Alberta's like, yeah, we're still thinking about it. But yeah, no one's done it. Like, to what his point. Sorry, James, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I didn't realize that he was lifting the mandate that was just set. I thought what he was doing was lifting the restrictions of where we go.
Mandate.
Really?
17th of January, because it's his wife's birthday week, and his wife and kids are all unvaccinated. So they need to go for dinner, dude. Of course.
Mandates. And then there's another date coming in March where the everything's gone. Like he was saying, everything's going to be gone by March 26th.
But I didn't see that. I saw the things that they were lifting it from, like restaurants and things like that. But I didn't know that they were saying, okay, you don't have to get vaccinated anymore after this date. I didn't realize that. That's crazy.
Vaccine passports that we just spent all this time and money on. He's already literally a week after we rolled them out, he put an expiration date on them.
I don't believe in vaccine passports, but I've laminated about 200 of them since we've started.
Oh, they're coming to the library too, eh? You're like the staples of Killaloo.
Not really, but sort of.
Do you say that to them? Do you, when they get it vaccinated, when they get a lamination, do you go, I don't believe in these, but I will do it?
No. I believe that, I mean, I don't know what I think it's a very interesting philosophical political question for long-term stuff. That's where my head is at with it. But no, I don't want to get in a conversation with most of the people that come in because they're like, first of all, they're like 1,000 years old. And while I'm cutting, they're like looking right at me like this, like, are you sure you want to do it there? And I'm just like, get the fuck out of my face, old lady. You know what I mean? And but no, most of them don't think that they should have
Employee of the month.
Yeah, right here. That's right. I only say it in my head.
Get out of my face, old lady. You work at a library. You're gonna get a lot of old ladies in there.
It's the old ladies.
You know, the
special
last
needs,
time
and
I was
kids.
in a library,
or
was
Lachlan's radio show.
1988. Yeah.
Come on, that was good.
It was 1988. I had to write a test.
In
It was
the
actually
library?
the last time I wrote a test too.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
1988.
you're not the target demographic, Lachlan. You know.
Yeah.
So let's get off the COVID train for a bit because I get tired of it. I do. I'll be honest with you. I get tired of it. Like I've already said my piece, and I could care less what the trolls say. I look at in binary content.
It must get tiring shoveling all that coal into the fire.
It is tough. It is tough
on the
because
COVID
then you
train.
gotta light it a couple times,
right.
and then you gotta go
right.
find more coal. Then you gotta find a place to watch everybody lose their shit. Right?
Gotta wash your
From a perch.
face.
That's what I do. Yeah.
I wonder if anybody else step in just quickly. If somebody will step in and shut the door on this, like lifting all the restrictions by January 17th and the mandates and all that.
The federal government could.
Oh,
It's the equivalent. I can't remember what it's called, but it's the equivalent to the what was
Emergencies
the
Act or whatever.
No, the notwithstanding clause. There's like a federal version of that where they can overrule the province. I forget the name right now.
That would be very entertaining if it happened to.
Well, there was a small chance that that Trudeau would. Well, apparently Trudeau was thinking about it when he did it the last time forward, but it wasn't the right issue. I think that was when he chopped council in half.
And I would imagine with Alberta's shining example from this summer, I don't think he'll have much of hesitation if this does go sideways. I think Justin actually will probably pull the pin because he doesn't have an election to worry about right now. And
only in 10 months.
Yeah, we saw what happened in Alberta. So
yeah, I do like the idea of Justin endearing himself to the population, that side of the population.
I do
as
too.
Well.
Oh yeah, the fuck Trudeau flags that are flying around out there now.
Dude,
like
you can't drive anywhere in Alberta without seeing like a fuck. Like there's stickers on trucks all the time.
Oh, and you guys wonder why we stick you in the kiddie table. Come on.
Yeah, it is kind of ironic that we're on the kiddie table when we're paying for the master.
Well, it's because you look at yourselves. So look at yourselves. Look what you did. Look at you.
You're
you
welcome
can't be trusted
for the meal.
With the toys.
We'll sit over here.
But we can't. Yeah, but we can't
welcome.
trust you with anything. It's like Alberta and Saskatchewan are like those two kids.
You can't trust the province. The provinces that give you guys the most money. That's
not true. That's actually not true though.
Yeah, you don't give us the most money, by the way. You don't.
Toronto itself counts for like 39% of the GDP overall. But go ahead.
Yeah, we do all the heavy lifting here.
Actually,
you can say that.
The irony of the transfer payments from the provinces is that it would benefit Ontario more than it would benefit any other province in the country if they got rid of
we're more important.
Yeah.
No, you guys
decide every election.
You guys send more money to Quebec than Alberta does.
Yeah, I know. We don't like it either.
Yeah, it's not our money. I could care less. I don't care about
the
that.
Center of the universe, Locke.
Dude. Yeah. Listen, we had 300 cases. You had 4 billion today. Like, there's a problem in Alberta.
We didn't have
right.
No. Hold on. Our numbers are going down.
Yeah, like by one a day. You still have like 3,000 people a day getting sick. Alberta belongs at the kids' table. That's from Nick.
Your numbers going down. He lives in Alberta. Them all to us.
That's right. Yeah, we took in your guys last week, and they're all fucking sick as fuck, and they're all sitting in the hospital going.
No, I don't know. I don't think Alberta's shipping people out right now. I do know Saskatchewan is, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah. There's a bunch of you guys are.
Yeah, but that's just people that don't want to live in Saskatchewan, right?
So they got COVID.
Yeah, that might take it out of here.
They're so sick of Regina. Rhymes with fun. COVID. They got COVID.
I got COVID in Regina.
The only way out.
Hey, Henry. Before we move on to Rogers, I do want to say this. Locke and I had a conversation with a guy on DM who will go unnamed. And quick story, you know how we all make fun of Montanas? It's like the rallying point for anti-vaxxers.
Yeah.
There's a Montana in Prince George, Alberta, Montana's, that's been given a warning by the BC government. No. And the warning is stop serving people who aren't vaccinated.
You know what? Honestly, I think we're going to see more of that because I don't know how many of these mandates coming down. I think it's a lot easier for these places just to say, yeah, we'll follow your rules. And then they let everybody in. I wonder, you know what?
Well, they like money, right? And if their place is half empty and there's a couple people that aren't vaxxed that want to come in and they know it, they might just wave them in. Because they're anti-vaxxers, but because they want the money.
Maybe they're broke.
I went somewhere on the weekend, and we don't need to get into it, but I had my wallet out and my vaccine, and they didn't even look at it.
Yeah,
it was just like,
that's right.
Just say, come on in.
Welcome to Alberta.
Hi, Alberta. How you doing? Let's switch gears, because if there's something I love more than dumping on idiots, it's watching big media implode, and it's happening. And it's happening in Canada. And this is such a fucking crazy story. I was shocked by it when it happened. But this is the story. Can we? And this is at DeanBlundell.com. You can go read it. Can we talk about Edward Rogers from Rogers Communications, the chairman of the board, former chairman of the board, got fired, getting fired from his own cell phone company after a pocket dial? Have you heard this story? It's one of the all-time greats.
You know what? Honestly, the only place I've seen this is on DeanBlundell.com. There's
Weird.
Not a lot of coverage of this. Like,
No,
is there?
Isn't that strange? Yeah,
You know,
like if it's a
what's
Rogers
funny?
property,
Tomorrow-
there is
tomorrow
not a
the
word of
Globe
it.
will break it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know who's doing really well with it is Sean O'Shea. Actually, has been doing a lot of tweeting about it today. It's been pretty good.
Oh, the dude from Global. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because Global absolutely hates Rogers, and they hate.
Yeah,
They're like the redheaded stepchild of big media. That's what Global is. They're
But
like
to
that.
be, but to be fair, he was also comparing it to their troubles they had back in the early 2000s, and said there's a lot of similarities. What it looks
Still
like.
have.
So I have a
Still
question,
Yeah.
just to get myself on board with this, because I don't know a lot of the personalities of the bigger names in the Rogers family, right?
Mhm.
I do remember hearing that Ted, who has since passed, was a good guy, right? Like Ted was a good guy, like salt of the earth.
I don't know if he's salt of the earth, but he's like a hardcore business dude. He lived every day, and if you ask him when he died of congested heart failure about 10 years ago, and he would have traded everything he had just to live another couple years because he loved living life that much, and had a firm grasp on how to treat people by and large.
Right?
Very well liked,
Yeah,
very
okay.
well spoken. Every family's got its issues, right? But let me just get to the Rogers issues. Edward Rogers is the chairman of Rogers Communications. The whole fucking shooting match. Well,
Ted's son.
what was until Friday? Yeah, Ted's son, his only son. Ted also has two daughters, Martha, who's lovely, who I had a nice little quick chat with on the weekend, and Melinda, who is also I've never met, but apparently salt of the earth, lovely, and of course Loretta, Ted's wife, widower. They represent the family on the board of directors. So Ed, chairman of the board, Martha, Melinda, Loretta, all have seats on the board of Rogers Communications. Okay. About, 2-3 weeks ago, the CEO of the company, another very good man named Joe Natale, great guy, gets a pocket dial from a guy named Tony Staffieri. Follow the names. Tony Staffieri is Ed's right-hand lemming.
Consigliere.
Yeah, he's his consigliere, but also on the board. Yeah. Right. So with these boards, there's a power struggle, right? Every board has it. You've got the CEO that brings his guys in, and then maybe some other family members might bring their people in. So there's always a bit of a mess. But by and large, this company has survived with a fairly good power structure. So let's fast forward. Joe Natale gets a pocket dial from this guy named Tony. Tony is on another phone with Edward Rogers, the CEO, the fucking chairman of the board. And during this phone call, it's incredible. During the phone call, Joe can hear everything going on. And the whole conversation is like this. I'm paraphrasing. I don't have the details, but this is the gist of it. We got to get rid of Joe Natale. How do we do that?
So Joe
fire
is
him.
Joe's the CEO.
Joe's the CEO of Rogers Communications.
And Joe used to run TELUS.
To run TELUS. Yeah, okay. Very well liked in the industry. I haven't heard anybody say anything about it. And you know me, if they're in big media. You've got a personal experience, Joe Natale?
Right down to a customer level, if you want to talk about how good of a guy he is. I had a real big problem where I was overbilled for almost a decade on an account. Yeah. And they escalated it so high it went right to Joe Natale's office. And normally it would be his, normally it would be his staffers to deal with it. Joe Natale phoned me personally and said, "This is outrageous. We're gonna fix it. We're so sorry." This happened a year ago. And I was so blown. And I have a friend that worked for Rogers, and he was a manager. And he said, he's known for that. He'll do that all constantly. If something big happens,
take care of business.
He'll do it himself. It's like, holy shit. Like, he was a super, super nice guy.
Yeah. So Martha does the same thing. I have seen texts and direct messages from Martha Rogers to individuals about similar issues.
Yeah.
She truly cares. Like, one of Martha's quotes, which I thought was incredible because she's been all over Twitter. And by the way, this is fucking awesome. You can't wait to see Martha's tweets. So this is what she tweets about when the whole thing happens. At the end of the day, the only metric about power is to use it to lift others up or push them down. Then she says, I wish I could sleep with 24,000 employees and mortgages on the line. It's not easy. Like, when do you see someone who's on the board of directors of really a bulletproof media company in this country go, this is about our employees and this is about doing the right thing? Never publicly, right?
No.
So back to Joe Natale, the great guy. Joe Natale listens to this whole conversation. Edward and Tony are talking about taking this guy out, who makes about $20 million a year, by the way. Can you imagine that fucking conversation? Just take him out. Last guy, named Guy Lawrence, Edward had him punted, cost something like $26 million to get rid of him. And he's like, he's in my way, get rid of him. So Edward has had a series of these issues where he brings a guy in to run his company so he can just kind of fly around and do his stuff, and eventually grows tired of them, or that person gets in Edward's way when he wants to do something that he's not allowed to do, and he gets rid of him. Case in point, that's what happened here. Now, Joe, after hearing this call, he goes to the board and goes, here's what I heard. This is what's happening. So the board fires Ed. They remove Edward Rogers from the chairmanship.
Not easy to do, right?
No.
Like,
He doesn't need votes, right? Do you need a
He's
60% vote, or how does that
shareholder?
work?
Yeah, you need they needed 5 people to say you out, and they got it, including both of his sisters, his mother. His mother fired her son.
That sounds like
His
Christmas at my house.
His mother.
Sounds like Christmas.
And you know what Ed did? Ed pretended it didn't happen, a la Trump.
He stands at it. Remember?
And he said, that's illegitimate.
Yeah.
I don't recognize it. This is what he said. And then he said, I'm going to call 5 of my friends. I'm going to develop a new board, a better board, and that'll be the real company.
Going to be in a treehouse.
That's what's happening right now. Yeah, in a tree. We're going to call the club X-Force.
Does he
No
have
sisters allowed sign on the door.
And the guys
Does
who
he
he's
have-
recruited, specifically one guy who I know is the worst fucking human being on the planet. His name's Ivan Fitzand. Used to run CTV in Bell. He destroyed the company. He is
he's
human
awful.
garbage.
Yeah.
Human fucking garbage. But he's friends with all these guys, and Ed wants to keep the company. And here's the kicker: the bucket of money, Rogers Trust. Ed has the keys to that. Nobody else does. So what we're doing now is there's this huge face-off in a BC courtroom, because despite being an Ontario company, it's actually not. It's a BC-based company. So they're in Supreme Court right now trying to
There's
figure
gotta
out
be a reason why
who's in
they're
charge
a
of Rogers.
BC-based company, right? There's got to be some sort of tax,
Some sort of
legal
tax.
Yeah,
shit
something.
too.
Or it's close
Yeah.
to where all the
Have you guys?
it's
Have you
close
guys?
to where all the ships from the from Asia come into the port, so they want to be close to.
Do
where the
we
products
do
come.
we have a handle
Yeah.
on Edward's legal stance in trying to recreate a board for the company he just got booted from?
Let me read a quick message I got from a mutual friend of mine and Edwards. We have several, and I've had several conversations about this. And the true answer is, it's a toss up. Like, as much as we look at this from the outside and go, this is crazy, it's a toss up. This is the text that I got. Who wins? I said, who wins? And he's like, no idea, but the right side has a good lawyer. So we'll see what happens. But
Have you
fucking
guys
unbelievable.
have you
Just
guys
an
watched
unbelievable story.
Succession.
Yeah, that's what this is. It's
This is
Succession
what it
meets
sounds
Game of
like.
Thrones. That's
This is-
exactly what this is. Is the dad
like
is
it.
on his way out, and the family.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: is that Edward is a notoriously terrible businessman. Even his friends are like, not a good business guy. 2007, Ted Rogers, when asked who was going to take over the company as he was now under some poor health. You know what Ed said? These were his words. He's like, I don't think Edward's got what it takes right now. He's got a lot of growing up to do. I was like 42 at the time.
Well, to be fair to Ted, I know many 40-year-olds that that I'm surprised they have driver's licenses.
Dude, you slept at the radio station last night.
Okay, listen, I'm one of them. Put me in that tent. I mean, I would destroy a company. You kidding?
I think that would be fun, actually. I think that it's not surprising that the son of a rich person isn't doing well in life. Like, I'm not really surprised about that.
He just looks like a tool, too.
Not to pivot away from the whole family part, but I was told by someone who works in one of our intelligence agencies 2 days ago that the reason why Bell and Rogers are so kind of treated with kid gloves and given favors and the highest internet rates on the planet and all this kind of stuff is because they are so instrumental, which won't sound surprising when I say it. It'll almost seem like a Captain Obvious moment, but I never thought of it like this because they're so instrumental when it comes to our ability to spy on Canadians.
But there's got to be a way we could do that legislatively without having to kowtow.
You can't do it legislatively because you're not supposed to spy on Canadians. So they're doing what the states did like 3 years ago, and they're basically just dragging all of our metadata in case they need it later. And it's been reported here and there, but guess who owns the media and why we don't know about these reports, right?
James, in my world, we call what you just said a big swing.
Yeah.
That is a great big swing. And I happen to know you're not 100% wrong.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm 2% right, guys.
No, you're close. You're real close.
Yeah. It's not me saying it. It's a person that works.
There's also a ton of collusion, right, behind the scenes about maintaining certain levels.
They're on the board on the Raptors, and he tried to get rid of Ujiri.
Oh, this story is amazing.
Oh my God!
So
Yeah.
part of the problem with Ed, it being such a notoriously terrible fucking business person, is he reads the room poorly quite a bit. Yeah. Case in point, Masai Ujiri brought one of the most beloved sports figures this city's ever seen. Ever. Black man, strong, smart, community builder, philanthropist, brilliant tactician, front office guy. So it comes time to sign him this summer. Another story you can read at deanblundell.com. This story is fucking bananas. Because Ed is such a terrible business person.
Ed just looks like that guy that his dad hated.
That's
you know what I mean? Like Ted was just like,
I want to know what his reason was.
Do we have to have Ed over?
I'll tell you the reason. So Ed,
for 1 second.
Uncle Ed coming again.
The man is revered throughout the entire NBA. The man brought a championship to a franchise that had no business winning a championship ever before then. The man has a way with finding players that are just completely unheard of and helping them get the tools to turn into superstars.
Yep.
What is the con on the list of Ujiri? He's too expensive.
James, I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
Here's the story, according to well-placed sources. Is Masai Ujiri had the green light from Bell, who owns 37.5% of the Leafs, Larry Tenenbaum, the managing director of Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment, one of the other shareholders. And that's all he needed. Larry Tenenbaum could have signed off on this, but as a courtesy, they're like, Edward, we're going to sign Masai Ujiri to a, let's call it $12 to $15 million contract per year because he's very good at his job. We need him. He's important to the city, important to the franchise, important to us for many other reasons other than basketball. Mm-hmm. So Edward's like, great. I want to meet with him at my cottage up in Muskoka, not far from where mine is. And I'd like him to come up at this day and this time. So Masai shows up with his driver. He's got a driver. He's in the back seat doing work. And they're also, the Giants of Africa people are literally filming him going to this meeting, right? Like it happens all the time. He shows up. Edward was pissed off that he came in with what Edward called a posse. It was his driver and a fucking videographer.
But they were black.
They were filming a special on him.
But they were black. What a fucking idiot. Jesus.
Then and security details. He calls them came in with his security. So videographer and his driver. And they sit down. They have a long conversation. Masai leaves feeling great about it. Ed calls up the remaining portion of the partnership, Bell, and which is Mirko Bibic, who we've taken a strip off of here. Mirko Bibic and Larry Tenenbaum. And he's like, worst meeting I ever had. Not signing the guy. He wants too much money, and he showed up with security. He's got an ego the size of Atlanta or something like that. Seriously. That's how he represented this meeting that Masai Ujiri, who's a wonderful human being, said was a great meeting because he didn't want Masai to get all that money and all that attention. So he said, I don't want to sign him. Masai was so pissed, he almost quit. Almost said, you know what? Fuck you.
I'm going to New York.
No, not even. He's like, I'm
did.
gonna take the year off. And he had New York in the wings and about 4 other franchises in franchises.
And they would have grabbed him like
in a heartbeat. In swoops Tenenbaum and Mirko Bibic and Bell, and they're like, fuck him. Just sign this. Here's everything you want. Everything will be fine. You don't have to deal with him. So now Ed's removed himself from that process. So he's effectively just a deadbeat leader who no one listens to anymore. So that's why they pumped him.
Well, when you're on a roll.
Yeah. Why not, eh?
Keep going.
Shit.
How fucking crazy are all aspects of this story.
Yeah,
that is the one thing that I was told when I worked at Rogers.
It's succession.
Totally.
If he was like in charge of scouting, I don't know about this player. He seems a little cocky. What's his name? It's LeBron James.
Yeah, I don't like him. He came in with 4 guys.
Fuck him. He's got really colorful shoes. Fuck him.
Yeah, he slammed that ball a little too hard for my liking. That thug.
Is Edward married?
Mm-hmm.
I bet you. I bet
She's
you he says to his wife at least once a week, I just don't know why people don't like me. I would be willing to bet a large sum of money.
I hope she's having an affair with Masai. I do.
Did you have that picture of him with his kids and Trump and his wife?
Yeah.
You have that?
Yeah.
Check this.
I've also got a bunch of
Edward's
tweets that I want to get
fan?
to too. Oh, dude,
yeah.
he's buddies with Trump.
No.
You'll get to see the wife and the kids here. They look like
Was he on that plane? Did he ever take a trip to an island?
Well, I don't know.
Friends with him.
Called Pedo Island?
We're kind of like there's a whole bunch here that has to get unwrapped. Like there is a lot of stuff here that has to get unwrapped, and I think as you're joking around about Edward Rogers and his relationship with Donald Trump and Edward Rogers' wife Suzanne, who's apparently also a lovely lady. Let's not. Well, I believe they met when she was dancing, and this is her on the left. That's Edward. I don't. That's a great question. I don't think it was Juilliard.
No,
but
New York.
Here's the funny part about this guy's relationship with
those aren't Juilliard boobs. Oh, look at Edward. He just looks like such a weasel.
Well, here's the funny part. So where this picture comes in handy is Martha Rogers has been on a fucking tear on Twitter. I don't know if you've read any of this stuff. We put this up earlier with her feeling. She is literally skewering them. The next tweet was, since Ed and his old boys club, Trump cabal, can leak countless articles with impunity, starting tomorrow, I'll tweet every hour what's actually happening with 24,000 employees with Ed Rogers, Alan Horn, Phil Lynn, David Robinson, Toby Hall, and John Tory, who is also the mayor of the city of Toronto.
Wow.
So then she says, don't care if you'll come for me. You have 3 weeks. So you have for 3 weeks straight, and we still get up every time you knock us down. My mother, the co-founder, is 82. What gentlemen's will spend every penny defending the company and employees? Ted's wishes. Nothing you can do will deter us. Bring us on. She says, you can stop me anytime by ceasing and desisting and then stepping down. No, I won't bring up anything without full receipts. I got him from the last 20 years. Who's vulnerable now? I'm guessing Ed's PR crisis firm, hordes of lawyers, Trump supporters will come for me. Let's go.
Sisters don't fuck around. When they go public, they go.
I'm gonna start following Martha.
Yeah, she's a great follow. Great
Martha L. Rogers is how you can follow
This
Martha.
is Succession.
This is happening.
Show.
I know.
Yep. Right in front of us.
Dude, it gets better. She was just warming up with the tweet shit. She says, next, truth about the Trump scandal 5 months ago. Their involvement threatening us to suppress it or else there'll be severe personal repercussions, and they very much can. Navigator, which is a PR company owned by a super douchebag named Jamie Watt, who was responsible for painting me as a homophobe when I left the Edge. That's what they paid him for. Must be shitting. Oh, yeah. Must be shitting their pants. There's so much more. I'll gladly blow up my life to stop this. Succession, Locke, she says? Please. It feels more like Game of Thrones, like Toronto Life said in 2014. And I hope to God I'm Arya. Maisie Williams killed that, by the way. She's brilliant, she says. Thank God it's 2021 instead of 2007. And yes, you know what I mean. I'll talk about that. How you doing, Navigator? So there's something here with Navigator, and I want to know what it is.
Navigator's got their paws in like everything. And often they will play both sides and then just take the guy that will like that wants to pay them more money. I lost the contract with with National Post because of Navigator, just threatening letters saying that I can't talk to certain sources and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, they are like, I don't know. I don't understand. Like, I wish Dean, you might have a better idea than this, because I am not allowed inside the gates of the exclusive. That's why I always have to hop it in the back and run through the kitchen. Right. That's usually what I do. But the idea that there's that this Jamie Watt guy is so powerful, like so powerful, and he is, and I'm just like, why is he though? Like all of his friends just do whatever he seems to want them to do. Like apparently they only have to send letters. Like they hardly ever actually have to exercise any actual legal strategy where they file with the courts, because they're just so feared. How did that happen? Do you have any idea how that happened? They're a crisis management firm. I think people in the public started to hear about them more when the Gomeshi thing happened, because they dumped him as a client after taking a bunch of his money after he did like that Facebook post.
Sweet.
And well, still, it was like, and then I've heard a whole bunch of other stuff about Kevin Donovan and how Navigator and Kevin Donovan are the information swappers. Yeah, which is actually not. It's unethical what Donovan does. Yeah.
Dude, listen, media is not ethical in this country. Crisis management is not ethical in this country. And let me share with you a little story about Jamie Watt and Navigator. You know, the great part about me is I get to say all this stuff because I paid the fucking freight. Anyway, here's the deal. So Jamie Watt has long been a guy that he's a fixer. He's like a fixer, but he fixes things in the court of public opinion. And what's available to Jamie Watt is incredible, because he works with a lot of big companies and a lot of very wealthy people on the sly. So when you see a really wealthy person try and claw back their reputation, there's a really good chance in this country Jamie Watt's involved.
Yeah.
And the way that Jamie Watt does that is he goes and talks to different people in the media. He gets them to write nice pieces, or he goes to different. And listen, I have friends that our boy Bob Richardson, who owned Edelman for the longest time, lovely guy. He apprised me of all this stuff after I got let go from the Edge, and he was like, "Here's what they did." Jamie Watt, who he knows well, was paid by Chorus to make me appear to be homophobic based on something that they didn't have any issues with prior to me getting fired. Mm-hmm. And the reason why this was told to me by several people, including the former president of Chorus, is that they didn't want you to go work somewhere else and take what you built for them. They wanted to try and keep that. So the goal for them was they hired Jamie Watt, and they said, "Jamie, we want you to paint Dean as an incredible homophobe." Guess who got fired for being a homophobe?
Wow.
What has two thumbs? He got fired for being a homophobe.
And put it in his eye right now.
And to the point where after it happened...
Hold on.
This is a true story.
When did you find out about his involvement in your story?
I would say 6 to 10 months after I left. It was
that soon.
Now it's probably the first guest that you have every time someone gets destroyed, isn't it, Dean?
Oh, yeah. It's like, where's Jamie Watt? Where is he in this whole thing? Like, how is he curating?
You were writhing for 6 to 8 months wondering what the fuck is going on.
I couldn't imagine. No.
That was pre-Me Too. That was pre-Me Too, though, wasn't it?
No. Yeah. Oh, I also helped myself in that department. Don't worry. Like, I mean, a lot of that was my own fault by acting the way I acted and carrying on.
Dean was paddling the boat for many years.
Yeah. Don't worry. That was the kill shot. Yeah, for sure.
They actually picked homophobia out of a class filled with other issues as well.
Yeah.
I always
misogyny,
laugh
all
when
of it.
somebody gets fired in our business, and they always like, I can't believe he got fired for that. I'm like,
Well, yeah. It's also, and
I'm not positive. I don't know the guy, but I'm guessing there were some other things.
For a few, yeah, for sure.
I've told this story on the podcast before, but just back to Jamie Watt really quickly. When I was doing that Mansbridge story, where allegedly he had affairs at CBC, and allegedly CBC used public money to pay off the mistresses so they wouldn't talk. Allegedly.
What?
Yeah.
You were ruining
I had one of the girls. She had documents that I saw but didn't have my possession. I was like, the story's going great. And that's when Navigator got involved, because I talked to a source that happened to be friends with him. And then just imagine this. Like 3 days later, after I got fired, all this happened within 24 hours. Then I got fired. And then 3 days later, Mansbridge's ex-wife, they're still friendly, had a show. I don't know if she's still, oh no, she doesn't have it because she's gone. On, I think it was like Sunday Report or
Wendy
something
Mesley?
like that. Yeah. It was Sunday Report or something. Well, guess who was her guest on 3 days after that happened with Mansbridge, and I got threatening letters
Jamie
from
Watt.
Yes, and guess what the topic was? Has Me Too gone too far?
Holy
I'm sure it was just a coincidence.
What was his answer?
Well, his answer was like, I think that we're trying to balance, I'm paraphrasing. We're trying to balance, making sure that women obtain justice and that we believe them, but also, and then, that we have to make sure that we're not creating new types of victims out of this movement meant to protect victims. Like he's got away with words, right? So
your story and your involvement with Jamie Watt, like, and it's all hearsay about his involvement in your story, Dean.
Oh no, it's a fact. Yeah, no,
I know
it's
it's a fact, but you found out about it from word of mouth, right?
I found out about it through a couple of people, and I've got no problem telling anybody who it is, provided they pay me.
Rat me out.
Yeah. But that was the goal. So what happened was, when they let me go, they hired.
You went to court.
Okay. We slid them a little note and said, hey, if you don't pay up, I'm going to say a bunch of stuff that'll really make this way worse. And they're like, here, take the money. So that's what happened there.
Okay.
But
so
still, was a concerted effort for weeks after I left to continue to make me look like a homophobe. Like, they paid him tens of thousands of dollars just so they could try to make me look like I didn't like gay people. And here's the ironic part of it. Is Jamie himself is gay. He's part of the LGBTQ community.
That's right. They call him the head of the gay mafia. They do.
I'm the right cat.
I tried to get somebody on this podcast when we were talking about the shrooms thing. And remember, we came up, and we don't need to say his name, but I mean, if you guys want to, you can. But we came up with somebody that was going to be like a shroom guru, or somebody that was going to help us. And I remember I'm on the phone with him, and he goes, isn't Dean homophobic?
Anti-gay?
And I went, no. I said, I said to him, why do you know that? He goes, I don't know. Just,
Yeah.
I thought he got fired for being, and I'm like, wow, that's
Jamie
not
Watt, baby.
That's not the Dean I know. Like,
yeah, I have the same. I have the same when I joined on, and I've got friends that came up with the whole story. I'm like, so now it's nice to have the inside to be able to say, yeah, but do you know what actually happened? And they're like, well, no, I just heard it. It's same as Locke. I just heard
and I'm disappointed because I joined Dean Blundell
story.
because he was a homophobe, and now I'm all disappointed. Just kidding, everybody. Don't cancel me. I'm not cancelable.
I'm in. Blundell, I'm in. But that is literally, so when you sit and you read stories that are really pleasant or really mean about someone who's gone in the public eye, someone who's gone through something very difficult, the reason why you're reading that has nothing to do with information. It's got to do with curating influence on behalf of whoever was paid to be able to crisis manage on behalf of whoever is paying the bill. So that's not crisis management. That is like literally reputational influence. And I was mad, to your point, when you said you must have been stewing for 6 to 8 months. I was I was lost. I was like, fuck, just drinking. Oh, I gotta fucking figure it out. And seriously. And then I'm like, a couple years later, I go to the doctor. She's like, you got like severe PTSD from it. So to your point, it gave me PTSD. Yeah. But at the same time, I can't control it. Like, that's one thing I know now is I cannot control my reputation other than with which I speak, right? And the things that I do. So I stick to that and could care less. And you know what's going to happen after we do this podcast? I'm going to get a letter from Jamie Watt. I'm also going to tell Jamie Watt to fuck off. I'm also going to get a letter maybe from someone to do with Ed. I'm going to tell them to fuck off. And then I'm going to play the whole thing out live here.
He's got bigger problems than Dean Blundell. His sister is tearing him a new asshole. She just tweeted 40 minutes ago.
She really?
Yeah.
Okay, you're right.
Ed's Twitter and Martha's Twitter are very different.
Well, what's left? What's left for Dean? We got anti-Semitic, maybe, or
I don't know. See, now here's the thing: is that I know exactly what I'm
clearly
all
a transphobe. Obviously,
he's the Satanist. Yeah. He's the Satanist of the group.
I got called the Satanist today.
And every time he interviews Bonzi, he's an ableist. Just kidding, Bonzi. I love you. I do, because he cut his hair. Now he doesn't.
I'm fascinated by this whole all this stuff. It's pretty.
Dude, nothing you see. This is why when people go like, is that story about that person true who's been through something? And then you read something that's completely the opposite. It's not written for the purposes of doing news. It's written for the purposes of, some crisis management company has got their fingers into a politician or maybe an entity, and then Bell or Rogers will then write a sewer piece, and then boom, you're fucking, you're done.
So Jamie Watt hires himself out as this type of individual.
Bingo.
So what does he work for a law firm? Like what's
he owns a company called Navigator Limited.
Firm.
So Navigator and that and everybody in the country fully knows that, has a full grasp of what Navigator does. No, okay.
Well, no, in media and in law they do. Like lawyer, what I was told, like for the National Post example, is that the lawyers of the National Post know all the lawyers, either by reputation or personally, at Navigator. All it takes is a phone call. Like, hey, someone you hired is doing a story on Mansbridge. That's got to go. Okay. And then they go like that. And then they call the editor. Yeah, the lawyers are telling me that that story about Mansbridge has to go. And that's it. That's all they have to do. Jamie Watt may not have even had to do anything in that particular situation. Just the name Jamie Watt was enough for lawyers to go into action.
Wow.
You know who had a lot of issues, and I wonder if maybe he's got his hands in there too, is what's his name? Phil Demers with the Walrus with the Marineland stuff. I wonder, because those lawyers are all. I wonder if he had his hands and stuff like that.
You think that Navigator was on Marineland's side?
Probably.
Maybe.
They would, if they were to be on a side, it would be.
There are a ton of crisis management companies out there that do this. So it's not like he's the only cat and his company's the only company. But yeah. And I'm sure they do good work too. Like I'm sure they do normal PR work, but this is a portion of their work that is not just nefarious, but it's like fucking dirty. Wrong. Like it's just wrong what they do to people on behalf of rich people.
That was well placed for your conversation with your lawyer. I did say that they do good work too.
Yeah.
Fuck Jamie Watt and fuck Navigator. Guys, come on. We have to make sure that we're consistent here, a little bit.
Well, you see, and if I was mad still, I would probably say the same thing, but I literally don't care.
They're evil.
Yeah, but like a lot of companies get paid to be evil, dude. Like, you know how much money is made by... No, I know it doesn't, but it's like, I'm not fighting it. I'm not fighting the fact that they do what they do. I'm not like going to bring an end to crisis management. I hope they continue to have a long, sordid history of having to sleep on their own pillows at night and going, fuck, am I a piece of garbage?
A lot of very powerful companies are also aware of the damage that they do, right? Like, I mean, this Facebook thing right now is front and center in the news. And I mean, they know, and now they're being hauled out into the, into the spotlight for being aware of it and then hiding the fact that they knew how much damage they were doing because they have all this evidence and these studies to suggest the damage that Facebook does on a regular basis. Do you think the CEO of McDonald's doesn't realize he's making America fat? Right? Like these companies know what they're doing.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, but the problem is, and this is going to sound kind of convoluted, I guess, but like public relations and crisis management, in its most basic form, are paid to lie. And it's funny how we just kind of accept that. We're just like, oh yeah, you know, I got to get the PR firm to come and smooth things over. Well, what does that mean? That means you don't disclose the things that make you look guilty, even though they exist. That means that you spin the things that you look guilty of and you can't hide into a direction that goes away from you, even if it's your fault. They just lie. They're just liars.
Well,
that's all they do.
When Ryan was fat Ryan, you knew that eating 4 Big Macs at lunch was not a good idea too, right? Like we're aware of these things.
I was aware. Yes.
Yeah.
McDonald's.
Way to bring up a really painful past for your analogy. Way to go.
Hey, let's talk about when your dad
you
abandoned you. What kind of crisis management firm would you hire if you were in that position again?
When your dad walked out of the house on you when you were 7, like you knew
Said,
that you should have ran after him, right? You knew you should have ran after him, but you never did.
That whole thing, right? You knew that, right? This was all on you, 7-year-old Locke.
Maybe your dad left you for Jamie Watt.
Or Peter Mansbridge.
Yeah.
No knows. It's provocative.
It's interesting too, because this Navigator conversation and about this crisis management company, I mean, they've got to be conflicted on like how many times do they get a phone call from both sides? Right? Like, let's use the Peter Mansbridge situation. Like, I mean, maybe on
at
some
side,
point
it was Tory's law firm, and that was the Mansbridge side, and that's the letter that came to me first, and I just ignored it. And then the Jamie Watt letter came to the National Post itself, and they were like, "We got to cut you loose." Okay, great.
That's literally how it works, dude. I have 20 stories like that aren't about me. Like James' story is like one of hundreds.
Dude,
you know how many
50% of this panel has been fucked by Navigator, right? Like in a manner of speaking.
I don't even know if I have. I doubt it, because no one gives a shit about me.
Dude, you still have a couple of years left on your deal. You don't know that you haven't dealt with this guy yet.
You could have dealt with him.
You're going. You might deal with him in the next 3 weeks. You have no idea.
We'll make sure of it.
All right.
Fascinating, isn't it?
It
you
is.
get to the underbelly of this stuff.
It's really fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
It makes you question everything.
It's a culture.
Hollywood-esque.
So it is. It's a culture. And I'll tell you this, is that Canadian media is all like it. It's not just Bell and Rogers and Chorus and Global, and they're all the same. And they're run by, these groups are run by people that are really close to Jamie, and he is literally like a 5-star tool for them. And so if they have a personal issue, boom. They got a professional issue, boom. Not only does he try to make it better, and often he does for the person that he's working with, because he's probably really good at his gig, but the fallout doesn't matter to that guy, right? Like, he doesn't care that I had PTSD, developed like fucking brutal alcohol problems, and had to go through 4 years of literal hell to get my shit back together.
Dean,
he doesn't care.
How do we know that? I mean,
no, that meant it was a success.
Maybe he does.
Oh, I'm happy about it.
In
Maybe he
fairness,
does
that probably
care.
would have happened anyways.
And to be fair, you said a 5-star. I don't think that
Tool.
was the F word you were looking for before tool.
5-star tool. He is a 5-star tool. And that is the underbelly of this business. And it exists. And when you say that there's this group of elites, they all kind of come together around crisis management all the time, because these are people that, like a guy like Edward Rogers, for example, crisis management. I looked up a story on him with Harvey Weinstein. The story's gone. The picture's still there. How do you think that doesn't exist anymore? Like, how do you think the story about Donald Trump, him and Trump, which his sister's like, I'm going to fucking tell the world about you and Trump. All of a sudden, she admits in the tweet, I've been silenced. I'm not going to be silenced anymore about the Trump stuff. And I'm going to fucking... All this stuff comes around crisis management, and it is a big fucking business. It is fun, isn't it?
It's so much fun.
Plus, Jamie Watt has the world's most tattooed like shit-eating grin. Every picture I've ever seen him, he's just like,
I don't even know the guy. Like I like honestly, I have no idea who he is.
I wouldn't
you
know
ever
him
pick
heading
him?
with my car. I wouldn't even know.
Yeah,
I had dinner
I would-
next to him with our agent, with my agent one night, and he was at the same restaurant eating by himself, and was like, this is like a year after I got let go. He's like, "Oh yeah, I worked on your file." He says to me,
No,
Just like that.
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
he
yeah.
didn't.
He
No,
did,
didn't.
and I kind of knew what he was talking about, but I was with my agent. We're at my friend's restaurant, Barbarians downtown, and I'm like, I'm not gonna fucking fall for it. I'm not gonna take the bait.
I would
you
have not.
should've-
I would
and
have
he got up
pretended
and
not to know who he was. I would have been like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't place the name with the face."
And he had a smile on his face when he was saying, he's like, "Oh, I worked on your file."
yeah, I
just-
totally destroyed
No,
your
he
fucking life,
didn't.
Oh yeah,
What
100%.
a piece
What?
of
Barbarians
sociopath.
restaurant.
Allegedly.
7 years ago, Barbarians restaurant.
Oh.
That's where we were. Table in the corner by the shitter. They've moved the bathrooms. Yeah, it's a fact.
Dean,
Yeah.
you make this fun for me. I just need you to know that.
Okay,
I
Ryan,
know
what are
you
you
might
doing later?
still have residual like side effects of the PTSD,
Zero.
but this is fun. This is fun
Zero.
for me. Yeah.
I love
No,
it.
you know what I find entertaining is that we're talking, like we keep saying how it's like Succession or it's like Billion.
Yeah.
It's like whatever. Isn't it funny that the people that write those shows are the people we're talking about? They're the ones that are all the money that writes those shows are the people, the assholes that we're all
that's
talking about.
interesting.
I just think that's kind of fun.
Because it's all true, dude.
Yeah.
Like those stories are stories because they're stories.
They were just easy to write because they're actually happening. So
I love this comment. Mansbridge must have quite a hog on him.
yeah. I like that I looked like the hamburglar after rehab. That's sweet.
The after picture.
The fuck? Why is it me today? Insane.
Welcome, new fish.
Well, we felt bad for James when he showed up in that sweater.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I can't
Take
figure
your
out if it's
sweater
a
off. Oh, that's your
pullover
go-to.
or a
Never mind.
cardigan. Martha has just tweeted
Yeah,
again,
but I-
gentlemen.
okay, what did Martha
Martha's-
say? Now I can't get off my Twitter feed.
Yeah, so, since we've been, I know. I'm telling you, you'll be addicted to Martha Rogers' Twitter feed. She's so cool. Alternative. So Blog TO, which is this is a Jamie Watt special. Rogers family drama is turning into Toronto's own real life soap opera. She says, "Quote: alternate headline: Ed's perpetual tantrums when he doesn't get his way, abetted by the old guard. It's turning into Toronto's own real life soap opera, threatening 24,000 jobs. When did stopping an attempted coup get redefined as a family feud? If a non-family member pulled the coup, what would you call it then? Asking for a friend." And then Bloomberg Canada did did Jamie Watt a solid. They put out an article that said the chairman of the Rogers Communications Board tried to fire the CEO, so the board fired him. So he fired the board, which is apparently illegitimate. And Martha's like, anyone see the governance irony?
Wow.
Yeah, it's like a board of directors fight on social media of one of the companies that keeps boning us for cell phones and fucking cable. Like,
Isn't life awesome?
it's really
so much fun
easy
today,
to enjoy
guys.
this. Yes.
It really
Yeah.
is.
It
Like
is
the whole
awesome.
weekend just exploded with fun news.
Incredible. Anyway. Oh, do you want me to check for Jamie
Yeah,
Watt?
yeah. I want you to show. I want Lachlan and Ryan to see the shit-eating grin on Jamie Watt's face.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I
I
said,
think
I
about
have no idea.
No idea who this is. The first time I've ever heard his name.
You
too.
might recognize
easy.
him when you see him.
Hold on. I've heard of Navigator. I didn't know what they did, and I didn't understand it when the reference came up. But I'm one of those guys that does concern about how dumb I look sometimes. So I wouldn't have gone, "Hey, mind explaining Navigator to me?"
It's
And
a
I
whole
have
different
heard-
world, though. When you get go to like a TIFF party or something, one of the private events or whatever, and you just see all these people, and you're just like, "Oh, look! Like all these people know each other. They're friendly with each other,
And they all hate
And
each
they're
other
all
behind
beho-
closed doors.
and they're all beholden to the same people." Right. And
Yeah.
and it's just it's a weird ecosystem because then
It's
if
so
you're a guy
much
like me and
easier
you're
being me.
outspoken
I
and you
know
say
everyone hates
something-
me in front of me.
Right, but
Like,
if
it's
you're
just
like
so
me
much
and you
easier.
say something in their presence that's like untoward towards one of
Oh,
these
yeah.
gatekeepers, they literally like it's the movies. They're just like, and then
See you
they
later.
turn around, They
Oh,
never,
yeah.
they never talk to you. like
Well,
you're,
there he is.
you're done.
There's your boy. There's your boy,
See,
Jamie Watt.
Don't
If you're looking for crisis management, this guy is the best.
Don't
at-
you
Yes, he's good at lying.
recognize? Don't you
Yeah.
recognize? See, I recognize him, but I wouldn't have been able to tell you what he did until today.
Sorry, he's too old to have the name Jamie.
Should be James at this point, you think?
I was Jamie until I was like 18, not of my choice. No.
Yeah, I think Jamie goes like
Jimmy on the show was Jamie too for until he was about 18.
That's a mom thing.
Yeah,
moms are like, oh, look at Jamie, he's so cute.
Mom's mad at us. Janice is mad at us because we call him Jimmy now, but we can't call him anything other than. Do they know that Jimmy's not your name, Jamie?
Call him James.
We call him Little. He hurt himself, so he walked in with crutches today. So we called him Little Jim instead of Little Tim.
Tiny Tim.
Or Tiny Jim, we called him today. Sorry. Tiny Jim. We called him all morning.
That made all the difference to him, I'm sure.
Oh, he hates it when we call him.
Little, tiny.
Have you ever seen an overweight little person on crutches? It's fantastic. No. I'll send you guys a video.
And if you want to see a really good video, check out Lachlan performing chiropractic procedures on Jimmy today.
It's a pastime. I'm not actually certified. It's a hobby.
Fantastic. You're so tall. I didn't
You're in
realize
Alberta. You don't even need to be certified.
Oh, he's
until you're picking him up by his underarms.
I gave him. I don't know if you saw the second video, Ryan, but because the first video I just grabbed him underneath because a couple years ago he had a problem with his back, and I picked him up and shook him. Like I picked him up underneath of his arms, and his whole back cracked. You could hear it from his neck to his asshole.
He went to 4'6".
He just laid down on the ground and went for about 10 minutes and went, I think you fixed me. That was about 2 years ago. So today I picked him up, but he's really tense. And I give him and he just cracked in the upper part of his back. And he's like, that didn't work. So then after we got off the air,
you can paralyze him, right? By doing like a back adjustment with zero training whatsoever.
You ever heard of shaking baby?
Yeah, you could paralyze the poor dude. Like
anyway, he's fine. I put him down on the ground.
Oh, okay.
Put him down on the ground at the end of the show. I think we filmed this too. I yanked his feet,
but he's fine.
and pulled his feet to see if I could get his lower back, and there was a loud like a loud pop at one point, and he kind of went, oh. So
I'm glad he has you as his friend. Welcome.
I think I got in there and got at least I got to the area of concern in his back, but he's fucked up, man. He can hardly walk.
Have you thought of using the Spanish version of Jamie's name? It would be Jaime.
Yes, that's right.
Actually. Yeah.
Yes.
James.
That sounds dirty.
Have you thought of maybe
he broke my Jaime
to visit a doctor for his problems?
Yeah.
Oh, Ryan, when you've got a friend like me, you don't need a doctor.
Dr. Locke.
It's literally Ryan's podcast, the Sheeple Shepherd podcast, is all about telling people not to do stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Podcast. Well, that's another reason not to have me on, Ryan, because I'll just shit all over that.
Before we go, I do want to play something for James. This is just for James, who has been against the two-tiered society with the Vax Pass thing.
Can we call you Jaime from now on, though, James?
Jaime. Sure, Jaime Di Fiore. Jaime Di Fiore. I'd like you to watch your hero, Noam Chomsky, agree with me and Lachlan.
What are your thoughts on mandating vaccines?
Well, it's a mixed story. I think people who refuse to accept vaccines, I think the right response for them is not to force them to, but rather to insist that they be isolated. If people decide, I am willing to be a danger to the community by refusing a vaccine, they should then say, well, I also have the decency to isolate myself.
Yeah, but I want to clarify something. He's not my hero. I interviewed him, and I think he's interesting. And also, does he owe someone money? Because he's got like a lot of shit going on in his face. Like, I think he got beat up recently. Maybe by Big Pharma, and that's why he's saying it. You know?
He's also in his 90s. I got a bunch of marks on my face I can't explain either, right?
Yeah,
like,
but that was, you
and
slept
I'm only
in the
51.
radio station control booth last night. So.
Yeah.
You might have too. Anyway, just some hot tip from Noam Chomsky.
I'll ask him on December 9th when I interview him for a second time. I'm black.
Please do. I'd appreciate that. That is Jaime Di Fiore. You can get him at James Di Fiore on Twitter.
Fuckface Blundell, fuckstick Lachlan, Ryan.
Whoa. Fuckstick is not Spanish for Dean, Lachlan, or Ryan, by the way.
Fuckstick
It's just
is
fuck.
I think
Portuguese for
fuckstick might be
I
a
decided
secondary
it was
name
Lachlan.
for me though.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
That is Lachlan Cross, 95.7 Cruise FM at Edmonton, at Lachlan Cross on Twitter. Fuckstick. That is Ryan Lindley. He is the host of the Sheeple Shepherd podcast and a wonderful man, and you can follow him on at Ryan Lindley on Twitter as well. You on the gram? Are you on the gram as well?
I am, but I don't really do much on it. I'm like,
for
it's like Ryan Lindley _1. I put my food pictures up there, which, by the way, will be coming to Dean Blundell very soon.
I thought you said, "Are you on a gram?" And I'm like, "A gram of what? What's going on?"
Yeah,
we got some fun coming.
I don't know what that is.
Also, for tonight, if I could really quick, I'll be on the Kids on the Escalator podcast tonight talking about horror movies with our good friend Brent. So
okay. Yeah, Kids on the Escalator tonight. You can watch it at deanblundell.com or at it's Dean Blundell or Kids on the Escalator or Brenton on Tour. It's a good podcast, actually. They fucking nerd out.
I don't know how I'm gonna do. I don't know how I'm gonna do. I'm a very passive entertainment person, so I might.
You're in trouble, man. They know shit. Like, it's insane. Like, I always feel like a total tool when I'm on with those guys.
I need to be knocked down a couple of pegs. It'll be good.
Yeah, you do. You have an air of self-importance that's driving me crazy.
I kind of do. Yeah, no, you know what? I was on 3 fucking podcasts on Friday because of the show. So
overexposure. Call Jamie Watt.
I'm calling Jamie Watt.
Yeah, you need it. And James D. Fiore, Blackballed, the podcast, where you can get your fine podcasts. And, of course, at deanblundell.com, Lachlan Cross, at Lachlan Cross on Twitter. Guys, thank you for doing this. Always good to see you guys.
That was fucking enjoyable for me.
I can't wait.
That was a good one today, guys.
That's because you don't have any legal skin in the game here.
None. I'm not going to have to talk to my lawyer after this podcast. Good luck with that.
Well, here's the thing. This is the thing, and I said this to someone this morning because we had this guy taken off Twitter. It wasn't my intention. Long story short. So the guy said he's going to sue me, and I'm like, whatever. Fuck, get in line. I'm very prepared because the truth sets everyone free.
You know what would be really, really funny? You just forward all your calls, your legal calls to me.
Okay.
Yeah,
I will.
I love it. Now he's a fucking lawyer. This is going to be so good.
I don't even deal with those. I don't even deal with those. So like my lawyer would say to me, he'd go, Dean, don't do the talking yourself. Let me do it. And I'm like, well, that's $400.
It's not that much fun though. Like, yeah,
you're right.
It's so much more fun to talk to these people.
I think Jamie Watt would settle for one of those door knockers though. So
what do you call it when you handle an account on Facebook?
Administrator.
I'm an administrator on a fake account that we have set up for the Edmonton Glory Hole tours. And we keep getting messages on that. People asking legitimate questions. I shouldn't be telling you guys this. You guys, we keep getting questions on it, like people saying, is this a real thing? Is this a tour? And I always go, yes, it is. Please call this number. And guess what number I give them?
It's Jimmy's.
No, I give them the private line number at work. So this morning, the private line number's ringing after somebody asked a question on the Glory Hole tours. Guys, shh, stop. I'd start rolling tape and I answer the phone. Good morning, Edmonton Glory Hole tours. How can I help you? Nothing. Such disappointment. They got scared. I don't know what happened.
It was because you were a guy. A guy answered the phone. They need a woman to answer the phone.
I've given that number out to about 30 people because there's a lot of sickos out there that like stumble across this shit online and then they'll ask a question like, hey, I'm wondering if there's a tour this weekend. Please call this number because I want to get one of these weirdos on tape asking questions about the
it's a sampling tours. Trying to hole number 4. Oh, hole number 4.
Some dude named Dunbar wants to know what those are. He's like, can you explain to the folks at home what a glory hole is? Because he doesn't know. Can you tell him what a glory hole is?
Can we get some glory hole explanation music, please, Dean?
Yeah, for sure we can. Here we go.
Okay.
That's better.
Oh, am I explaining glory holes?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, great, dude. You brought it up. Finish. Bring us home.
Listen, they have these things. They're legitimate. They're actually COVID safe as well. And you go into a building and there's a hole in the wall and then there's somebody at the other end of the hole and they pleasure you and it's called a glory hole. And
What do you
so,
mean? Like you put your eye in the hole and they play
No.
like a skit? What do you mean?
No. So you
Here we
so
go.
pretend Locke's going up to the glory hole right there, right? There's the glory hole.
Yeah.
On Locke's on this side with his wiener. I'm on this side with my mouth, and I'm like this.
Using my Adderall
Like an
as
eager
the-
baby bird waiting for a mama worm. That's I'd be like like this. So this is what you'd see at home. You'd see
and the
Lachlan's being very
exciting,
generous with his hole.
part about the glory hole, from what I've been told, is you just don't know what's on the other end of that wall.
unless you feel
Like on the
stubble.
others.
Unless you feel
Yeah.
stubble. Then it's an Italian.
Lachlan, you were being very generous with your hole size, weren't you?
oh.
You were
All
using
right,
like
all
two
right,
hands
settle
here.
down, everybody,
Well,
settle
listen, you want room for error. And if the hole's big enough, you can stick your balls through too, right?
down. Like any other pole, you need a margin of error. Right?
If it's too small, you're eliminating a large portion of the population, right?
And there's a chance for splinters.
Well, it's sometimes you're like the really good glory holes have like tape all around the inside so you don't cut your wiener.
Duct tape. Yeah.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Or
Hockey
some
tape.
hockey tape.
Thank you.
They actually
Yeah.
exist. There is a building in Edmonton
No, they're-
where you can go and
No, you
stick your
can't.
PP. Yep.
No, you
It's
can't.
right above
I don't
the
believe
Arby's.
you.
Go to our webpage, go to my Twitter, hit the webpage for the link for our merch, scroll down. There's a picture of Jimmy outside of a building, and it's an Edmonton Glory Hole Tours t-shirt. And he's standing outside of one of the buildings in town that has a glory hole in it.
I still haven't received my T-shirt, Luck. Just to let
Have you ever sent him in?
No, Jimmy wouldn't do that.
He won't go. Oh yeah, I guess he's very religious.
And-
Eh?
He's very
That's a
religious.
lot of trust.
He has a that's a lot of trust.
Like you go to marriage counseling and they're like, no, your partner's gonna fall backwards into your arms. This is like a whole different level where you get
Of that.
strangers to,
with your pee-pee. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about, James.
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I can't see it here. There's nothing here for.
There's
I'm
no
on
hold
your
on.
thing. Just a
Oh,
bunch of
really?
these
All right,
terrible hats and
It's probably not the best note to leave off.
What
and
terrible
anyways,
hat?
Searching for a building.
Best summer ever.
it's not there. You're gonna have to send me that because I don't believe you. Like once again, you've lied.
No, I never lied.
Look at that fucking terrible.
What
hat.
terrible hat?
Jesus, is that a children's hat? What is that?
You look
It's a
like you just
deformed
got scooped out of
child.
the forest from being lost for like 5 days, and someone like gave you a hat that doesn't fit just for exposure.
I think I think it's more Ryan's head. That's a beautiful hat.
It's a terrible hat, dude. It's awful. But go buy one. Lachlan Cross at Lachlan
They're great
Cross.
to hang on the
Join
wall.
Ryan and Brad as the only two people that have actually bought the damn hat.
And you can put it on your wall like us, because that's the only place it fits.
All right, that's it for me. I'm out of here. I gotta pee. Have a great day,
Okay,
everybody.
guys.
Bye,
That
guys.
was
Thanks,
fun.
guys.
Take
Talk to you
care.
soon. Lachlan Cross, Ryan Lindley. Appreciate you, brother. We'll look for you tonight on Kids on the Escalator. At It's Dean Blundell is where you can find it. That's it for us. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for being part of the show, and thanks for listening. Thanks to our friends and sponsors and partners over at Ed's Fine Imports. EdsFineImports.com is get your unbelievable Canadian-made luxury underwear for men. Pouch in the front, seamless band, unbelievable boxer briefs. Order 3, and you get the 4th for free when you use promo code GETCH and then the number 3. That's how you do it. Hi to our friends over at Domination, DMNTN.com. Try them out today, too. It's AI for content producers. If you want to produce commercials or legacy content for different formats and platforms, they make it easy. It's free to try as well. All that editing that you do for promos, they remove it all. So you save like hours. It's 72 pieces of content in like 7 minutes. Super fast, super easy, and very well done. Try them today at DMNTN.com. Hi to our friends at Easy Auto Financial as well. These people are good individuals, want to get you in a car, and they want to get your financing. They don't want you to pay for it, so they take care of everything, including sending you to get the car that you've already handpicked with your financing. Easy as that. EasyAutoFinancial.ca. Sign up today. No obligation either. Doesn't cost you a dime. I like this music. I feel like I'm in a bowling alley in the 70s. And Blue Microphones. DeanBlundell.com, proud supplier of Blue Microphones to every single one of our content producers, Logitech group of companies. Try them today. Get the Blue Yeti X mic, which I use. Got the preamp built in, so you don't have to dick around with a bunch of other stuff. Also, these MoFi headphones that are fairly attractive, and they work great. Grammy Award winners, best headphones I've ever owned. They have everything if you're a content producer, podcaster, gamer, etc., streamer. Go to bluemic.com or at Blue Microphones on Twitter for more information. That's it for us. Have a great day. Thanks for being part of the show. See you tomorrow. Come with receipts.